Hi guys, welcome to another video. Hope you're all keeping well. Now in this video I'd like to talk about this truly fantastic book called Universal Studios Monsters: A Legacy of Horror by Michael Mallory. Now I am a huge fan of the Universal movie monsters. I grew up watching them as a kid, back in the late 60s. I first watched Boris Karloff in Frankenstein, the 1931 classic, and from that moment on I became a huge horror fan. Now if you love Universal movies as much as I do, I highly recommend that you get this book. It's just fantastic. I'll just show you some of the pictures inside. It's got all the classics there: Frankenstein, Dracula the Wolfman. Some lovely photos in this from the history of the Universal Studios right through. There's the two icons of horror, Lugosi and Karloff. Colour plate there, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, Lon Chaney. Oh, this, I mean, if you're a Universal monster movie fan, this is the book to get. It's just fantastic. There's a good photo of the Dracula movie with Bela Lugosi, and it's just all the photographs in it, many of which I've never seen before. Son of Dracula, Lon Chaney Jr. Absolutely treasure this book. There's the House of Dracula. I always regard that movie as the happy Wolfman movie, because that's the movie where Lawrence Talbot, after all those years of suffering the curse of lycanthropy, finally gets cured, by a doctor, Dr. Edelman. House of Dracula. There's a good photo of Bela Lugosi. So yeah, this is Frankenstein, coloured poster, the great Boris Karloff, who played Frankenstein monster 3 times. Wish he'd have played him a few more, because he was just the best Frankenstein monster. And there's my all-time favourite horror sequel, The Bride of Frankenstein. Absolute classic. Son of Frankenstein, that was Karloff's third and final stint as the Frankenstein monster for Universal, made in 1938. And then Lon Chaney Jr. took over the role for one movie, The Ghost of Frankenstein. The great Boris Karloff. This is a fantastic book. I mean, the Wolfman is Henry Hull from The Werewolf of London. The classic Wolfman, Lon Chaney Jr. Nobody could play the Wolfman like Lon Chaney Jr. He brought a remarkable sense of pathos to the role, and you really felt sorry for him, suffering from his curse and that, Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, fantastic sequel to the Wolfman, which I think is more of a Wolfman movie than a Frankenstein monster movie, because it tends to sort of lean towards Larry Talbot, in his search for a cure. Oh, the photographs in this book are fantastic. There's a good one from the House of Frankenstein. Where's the Wolfman's got the little gypsy girl. Karloff as the mummy. Yeah, there's a good photo of Lon Chaney Jr. and the Invisible Man, which the remake has just come out on Blu-ray. Yeah, this is a fantastic book, guys. It really is. It tells you everything about the Universal movies, even the lesser known ones like Jungle Captive. Yeah, House of Horrors, many of which in here I've never seen actually. Pillow of Death, Lon Chaney Jr. I think that's from the series, Inner Sanctum series he did. I'm not too sure. Yes, Inner Sanctum, yeah. That's a good box set as well, what Lon Chaney was in Inner Sanctum. I hope to do a review of that soon. Yeah, and as I say, this is the best scoop to get on the history of Universal monster movies. Great photo of the Wolfman at the back, the great Lon Chaney Jr. So yeah, guys, as I say, if you love Universal horror as much as I do, I highly recommend that you get this book. It's an absolute Bible of the Universal Studios monsters. It really is, and the author's done a fantastic job in putting this book together. Just a fantastic book. Yeah, I'll just read you the inside. From the 1920s through to the 1950s, Universal Studios was Hollywood's #1 studio for horror pictures, haunting movie theatres worldwide with the likes of the Phantom of the Opera, Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, the Mummy, and the Creature from the Black Lagoon. This is a lavishly illustrated book that explores all of these enduring characters and film series, the Universal Studios monsters, a legacy of horror chronicles, the mythology behind the films, and offers behind the scenes insights into how the films were created. So, you know, if you're interested in Universal movie monsters, it's all in here. Yeah, with chapters covering each of the major and minor film series. The pages of this deluxe edition are punctuated with spotlight biographies of the major personalities who were responsible for the most notable monster melodramas in film history. The stories of these films and their creators are told through interviews with surviving actors and studio employees. A detailed photographic record, including many behind-the-scenes shots, completes the story of these classics, from Dracula and Frankenstein's monster to the Wolfman and the Invisible Man. Universal Studios Monsters is the definitive volume for horror buffs. And say that again. So as I say, guys, that's the book to get. If you love Universal horror as much as I do, you know, I highly recommend you get yourself a copy of this book. And just talking about Universal monsters in general, as I say, I grew up with these fantastic movies and that, you know. And in regard to the you know, the monsters like that appeared in these flicks, like Frankenstein, the Wolfman, Dracula, you know, the Invisible Man. Although they have done a couple of remakes of these iconic characters, I don't think they come up to the brilliance of the original. You know, I mean, and I know I speak for many Universal fans here when I say this. They were just fantastic. I mean, I've got the Universal box set of, you know, came out a couple of years ago. It's got all the first movies in: Frankenstein, the Wolfman, Bride of Frankenstein. I've got that. Hope to do a review of that soon. And then I've got the Legacy collection of the Frankenstein monster. That's another one I go back to a lot and that, you know. But Universal monsters, they were my first introduction to horror. You know, I mean, as I say, I watched these in the late 60s as a kid. I used to stay up watching them and that, you know, and I thought they were just fantastic movies and that, you know. And what I liked about Universal monsters as well, I always used to love the way that they do a sequel. Say, like, you get like Wolfman, he get his head battered in at the end of one film by his father, Claude Rains, and a couple of years later he's revived again when grave robbers break into his crypt and try to steal his jewellery. That's the opening of Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. Oh, one of the greatest sequels ever made. And I love the little gypsy woman as well, Maliva, whose son Bela was responsible for turning Larry into a werewolf. You know, his son was a werewolf, and Larry rescues a girl getting attacked by Bela one night in the forest when he's going to a affair with Evelyn Anker's, you know, the girl he's got a crush on. And he batters this animal to death, of course, once he's bitten. Well, of course, you know, I won't go on too much about it. We've seen the Wolfman, you know what I mean. But yeah, as I say, Universal monsters were the best ever. And, you know, I prefer these monsters to the likes of the modern day ones. Like, you know, although I love I like some of the modern day monsters, like, you know, Jason and that, and Michael Myers. These are my favourites. I mean, these are the ones I grew up with. I used to get the horror comics as well, with you know, with the further adventures of these characters and that, you know. And as I say, they used to be shown on a Monday night under the Appointment with Fear. If any of you are old enough to remember, Appointment with Fear, you come on about 10:30 and you get a different movie monster each week. And then, as I say, I used to get all excited when he said next week you get the return of the Wolfman or the return of Frankenstein. And I used to look forward, you know, eagerly to the next adventures. What would they get up to in this movie and that, you know. And little did I know all those years ago that one day I'd own all these you know, classic movies in my collection. So yeah, as I say, guys, if you love Universal monsters, strongly recommend that you treat yourself to this book, because it's a fantastic book, one you can just pick up again and again, you know. Great desktop reference. Yeah. Okay, guys, stay safe.